Frederik Vandal, the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe rider, all three of them right up there in general classification. If you've not been with us for the last 3 days, I'll update you on what's happened with the general classification first, before we have a look at our breakaway. The Kiwi for Israel Premier Tech is leading by 7 seconds over Matteo Trentin, or he was, because Trentin's taken back 3 of those seconds there. Corbin Strong did not feature in that bonus sprint point there. So, in actual fact, at that first one, he has moved closer to Corbin Strong, who still leads this race after a really strong ride yesterday, no pun intended, a really good ride yesterday, to be right up there in the chasing group that were chasing. And we are nearly at the base of it, imminently. Come back to that in just a second. Corbin Strong leads the race. He's in the orange leader's jersey. He also leads in the points classification, the most consistent finisher, of course, but Paul Penaway is wearing that jersey for him today. King of the Mountains jersey is led by Jimmy Janssen, so did have something to show from yesterday's breakaway efforts, where he and Marcus Hulgaard were the main survivors of the original breakaway of the day. He leads in the King of the Mountains. And Marcus Hulgaard himself leads in the purple hotspot sprints classification. Right. La Redoute. It's as I say, a very well-known climb in the age history. Let me tell you using the breakaway first before I bring in. It's 2 kilometers long. I think it's actually about 1,600 meters from the exact timing point they're using, but maximum gradient 16.3% too. At the back here we have Cole Kessler, the American rider for Lidl Trek, who of course was in the breakaway on day 2, the 4-man break on that occasion. He has with him the Danish rider William Bloom-Levy of InnoX Mobility. In Slovakia, the Belgian rider for Lotto Destiny, as is the under-23 World Time Trial champion Lorenzo Milesi, riding for Movistar. And then Michael Gogol. Michael Gogol is the best player. Of the riders in there, and he's been hovering at or around very close to the virtual race lead, because he started the day 2:59 down. Seeing by our timing at the top there, he's under it at the moment. And our breakaway on La Redoute, and this is the race into the base of La Redoute, because they know that it narrows. So these riders, led by Movistar here, interestingly enough, and Israel Premier Tech, racing to get themselves into good position before the road narrows down. My name's Jez Cox, as it has been all week. I've had a swap out of co-commentators, though. I did have Brian Smith with me, and I swapped him neatly for Pippa York. Hey Pippa, it is kicking off as we join them on air, isn't it? Always says that going into the roundabout.
Yeah, it's always a full sprint into the bottom of La Redoute. You can recognise it from Liège, Bastogne Liège, of course. Pretty crazy trying to get a decent position as you go over this little bridge and it's the left and then take a right onto the road. It is pretty desperate at this moment, and if you're not in the first 20 or so, you're sprinting for the first probably 200-300 meters of the actual climb.
Yeah. Well, Pippa, as we watch our breakaway on the more recognisable part of La Redoute, with the crowd either side of them up here, we had a surviving breakaway yesterday. I know there were only 2 of them that survived in the end from the original 5, but the breakaway survived. They didn't take over the race lead, but it was nice to see that happen, wasn't it? I'd hate to think we'd have a formulaic 5 days of racing where every time the break gets caught, and they the two strongest riders in there put a good battle on yesterday, didn't they?
They did. They had a good lead going on, but they didn't walk far. At the end, Hoggaard was the strongest in the sprint, but Yin Janssens was equally as strong up until about 8 kilometers to go. On that last hill, he seemed to be suffering a bit more. So yeah, maybe this isn't going to happen today. We'll see. You notice here that you see more of the climb than you usually do at Les Bastons because it's covered in people.
Yeah.
So it's wet there because there's water runoff from the fields in the winter. So that's usually the wet bit, and then it kind of levels off a bit, and then there's the last kick up towards the big antenna at the top, which I always found was the worst bit of the climb.
For those who maybe, I'm sure most of you watching this will have watched Les Bastons on the Edge and will know the Côte de la Redoute. We're on it right now. I looked up, and I must admit, I felt a bit guilty. And I'm sure you know this. Do you know what a redoute is, Pippa? I'm going to ask you now.
It's to do with a castle as a battlement, I think. Right.
Yes, a redoute, a fort system made with an enclosed tower inside a larger fort. Very clever. If anyone gets in, they've then got to try and get onto the fort itself. And this one in particular here is named after a redoute that was built in the Battle of Spearmount. No, let's try that again.
Well, I help you. Spearmount.
Spearmount? That's terrible, isn't it? Do you know it?
Spearmount.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Anyway, that place in 1794, and it was. I can't read my writing. Oh, sorry. It occurred in the nearby village of Foutin, or it might be Fontaine. I'm reading really.
Going down the descent, sorry. But the Fabari from Airbnb attacked just before you got to.
Who's had a quiet but effective race so far. He's 11 seconds down on Corbin Strong. Stander Wolf. Even more quiet because we barely mentioned him until yesterday. He's in 4th place on GC, having moved up 5 places yesterday. Simon Clark had a brilliant ride yesterday. He's in 5th. He moved up 25 places, the Israel Premier Tech. Aussie, is 12 seconds down. He got another bonus second yesterday too, so he's certainly setting about it the right way. Carlos Cañal, the Spaniard for Movistar, is the first of those riders who are 13 seconds down, and there's 10 of them going right the way down to Juan P. Lopez. So you've got 16 riders there, all within 13 seconds of Corbin Strong. And who's seen the hill up into the select leading group so far are forming themselves out front, but it looks to me like the second group is trying to break up that group a little bit and see if he wants help, and it's not coming by the look of it. An interesting one on the radio. He's got a teammate in the break, don't forget, in Liam Schlock. So this is an interesting moment, Pippa.
Yeah, there's some strange tactical observation. I don't know if they were trying to just keep position or what, but they've got a rider in the front, and a lot are counter-attacking behind, which is a bit strange. Normally, you would leave it up to the other teams, you know, basically Israel and Decathlon to try and close this down.
They're trying to put in place a plan for their rider out here, Milesi from Movistar, or Slock for Not to Destiny, to be some kind of satellite rider that they bridge across to, or something like that. It's the only reason I can think, but it's strange. This lot are still sorting themselves out. I think they'd used, by the looks of it, they'd used Radu as a kind of a marker point, get over that, and then regroup and think about what we're doing. So plenty of them taking on extra fluid. It's about 20 degrees, just slightly over, 21, 22 at the most. So not roasting hot, but warm enough. And a very light breeze, really, no more than 10 kilometers per hour, blowing in the direction in which they're riding now, in actual fact, going back northeastward, because they've completed 3 of the cloverleaf leaves, and they're headed back towards the middle final loop, which actually very close to this. It started this morning, this afternoon, even at 12:30 local time, and they're going to be finishing in Erve, spelled H-E-R-V-E, very well known for its cheese, which is, I can break it to you now,